Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Well, here we go again. We've had quite a wonderful group of people on our radio show this morning. I love it when it happens like this. Okay, so now I have an author. I really enjoy authors. And my author this morning is someone who wrote a book called A Girl Who Sings the Alphabet Backwards. Her name's PAULEE Bowin. Good morning, PAULEE.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, thank you. And you're calling in from Clearwater, right?
Right.
So what's the weather like there? Is it rainy?
Not right now. It has been off and on.
Right. Well, so let's just talk a little bit about what this is. So you're an author. This is your first book, isn't it? You have a second one, but was this your first one?
It was the first one that I wrote and illustrated. I had illustrated another book for an author here in Clearwater, and then it gave me the idea, why don't I write my own?
Right. That's true.
I did.
Yeah, that's true. But you did a good job. You're right. As an illustrator, you didn't have to hire someone. And you had such cute things in here. I was curious, you had, this was the book of the month for our June issue. And, of course, when I read it, I get to think about a lot of things and what did the author mean. And this was interesting, and it's like for a child. And you can either read it to your child if the child is not old enough, or the child is old enough, they'll like it. But what I enjoyed were all the names and how you got those names for a tree and an owl, all sorts of things, dolphins. So how did you decide on names of these? I guess they're inanimate things. Well, they're not really. The tree is, but the animals are not.
Well, the owl, of course, Millie, is named after my mom, who I lost last May, right before I began illustrating and writing. In fact, I was in a lot of despair after losing my mom, and that's when this other author approached me and asked me to illustrate a book that she had just written. It was a kid's book called Tumbledown Farm. And that helped me heal a little bit and go through the grieving process, gave me something that I felt worthwhile to do. And then I thought, I need to honor my mom in the book I write, because she was always very supportive of my artwork and my writing and anything I did. So I wanted to make sure she was the main character, and the owl, she's represented by an owl because she collected those. And I grew up in a household that had owl clocks, owl figurines. We counted, and there was like 300 owls in our house growing up. And so I couldn't think of a better way to represent her than a character that's an owl, of course.
Right. That's true. That's great. Well, I always like books that have a purpose, and this did have a purpose. It had a lot of purposes. One is that you should understand that animals, dolphins, I've had a great fondness for dolphins. They are very smart, and they have a life. They have a life themselves. They have babies. They do things. And then think about, when we do pass trees, I really appreciate trees. I appreciate flowers. When you think about the tree, especially the tree that you featured here, a banyan tree, when people come down from up north, they don't see trees like banyan trees, and some of them take pictures of banyan trees because of all their roots and the ways that it looks. And sometimes we just pass it. We don't think about it.
Exactly. And I know for me, moving here and seeing banyan trees, they're so amazing. And I took a lot of pictures of those myself when we moved here 8 years ago. And I figured Boca, which means big, of course, would be an appropriate name for a 150-year-old banyan tree. And, of course, he would be smart because he's seen so many things and people. And so that's how I named him. And you referenced the Dolphin girls, and they all have special names, too, other than Vanessa. I just like that name. But Elan is named after my best friend from junior high, so we've known each other since we were 13. And then I named Lily after a friend of mine that's actually she does waxing, and she's a lovely lady. So that's how I came to be with those names.
Oh, I see. Well, and I know that you're working on another one. Well, I'm going to go back to the illustrations. I'm just looking at the cover of this book. It's so filled with different things. Some almost as that you're in a dream world. Did you dream these things, or how do you do this? You just put on a piece of paper and you see these turtles and the mermaid and the things. I mean, how do you decide what to do?
That's a very good question. And I really enjoy colors, so that's really where I'm coming from a lot, is making it colorful and thinking like a child would, maybe, I guess, because, children love bright colors and detail and things that stimulate them. And so that's kind of the mode I put myself in, is what would I like to see as a little girl, and that's kind of how I thought of those things.
Right, yeah. So I see that. Now, did you start all this when you were a little girl? Did you start drawing? Did you know that you were an artist when you were 3 years old or 5 or what? When?
Probably 4 years old.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And so I would write a lot of stories, too, and I read books all the time and always wanted to, pursue that later on. So I wrote stories, outside of schoolwork. I loved writing stories as a child and drawing, and I made cards for people. I originally wanted to work for a Hallmark and be in their department making greeting cards. That was my ambition when I was in second grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you ever?
No, I never pursued that, although I've done a lot of handmade cards over the years, and I found out that my mom kept every one of them that I ever made her.
Oh. See, it does pay. Yeah, that's very cute. Well, so it meant something, but there are. I have a daughter who is quite an artist like that, and she was able to do beautiful cards, but somehow she became an acupuncture physician, and she doesn't really have the time to do that. And I said, well, it doesn't probably take a lot of time, does it, to do a greeting card?
Not at all for a greeting card. I think she should pursue that. That would be really inspirational, I think.
Yeah, I do too. And she has that kind of a heart, so I figured she should do. But so you never really had a card company. You just were making cards for people.
Yes. And then, of course, had to pursue the daytime job and career,
sure.
I call it. I was in insurance for many years and put the artwork aside. Also I'm a former ballerina. And of course,
I forgot about that. You did tell me that. Oh, that is so nice.
Of course, my parents were all about pushing me in school to do well and get good grades because artists starve,
Yeah, right. That's true. So that's what you did, right? So you kept the art on the side, which is an avocation, and you had a business, and that was good.
Yes, and then I decided why not pursue it, and that's the majority of what I do now is the books and the artwork.
Yep, yeah, you're a smart girl. Why do you live over in Clearwater? How'd you get there?
We had decided to pick up and move away from Kansas 8 years ago. No family down here or anything. It just seemed like the right place to move. It's beautiful. Had visited on vacation, and then, I don't know, just decided one day it was the place to go.
And is there a lot of traffic? Is it pretty small? What's it like living there?
It's really nice. There is a lot of traffic, so you have to plan for that. That was quite a shock coming from Kansas, because if the destination you were going to was 15 miles. You got there in like 16, 17 minutes. And here, you know, you have to plan an hour and a half. I call it a pack-a-lunch trip, you know, with the traffic.
Pack-a-lunch trip. Oh, that's funny. Well, but it's nice. And the weather's probably the same, although you have white beaches, white sandy beaches over there.
Yes, we do. And great seashells. That's one of my favorite things, is looking for shells. And, of course, the beaches down near Sarasota, about an hour from here, are like baby powder, and they sparkle. And there's just so many great things to see. I love it over here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's great. And, you know, when you're an artist, it's very important to live in an environment like that.
It's very inspiring, and, you know, meeting or seeing new things at the beach. I don't know, I've picked up some wonderful shells with the creatures still living in there and put them back, and seen starfish and dolphins. And, you know, I never, ever get tired of it. I know when people have lived there their whole life, live here their whole life, they're not as amazed by it, but I still am. I don't think I'll ever get tired of it. And I love the palm trees and the banyan trees also.
Yeah. Well, let me also comment on the name Paisley. I don't think I know anyone named Paisley. Where did you go? I love that name.
Thank you. I didn't want to name her Paulee, like me. Of course, my name's Paulee, so I tried thinking of something similar to Paulee, but maybe a little more modern, and I came up with Paisley.
Do you know anybody named Paisley?
I sure don't.
That's right. I don't either. That's a good name for people. I mean, even a dog. If next time you get a cute dog, name it Paisley. I mean, it's a really cute name, but you do have the whole idea about the turtles. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the turtle, the mama turtle come in, lay her eggs, and then the eggs hatch. Have you been a party to any of that?
No, I haven't had that privilege, and I would really love to. And, you know, on that note, I really wanted to put a little education in there about sea turtles, because, you know, that's a big deal, the hatching, and then the babies come back the following year, of course, or, well, maybe not the following year, but they travel thousands of miles and usually end up back home to lay their eggs, if I'm not mistaken, but that's the research I did. So I wanted to raise awareness that we have to help turtles get to the water as they hatch, and the bright lights are definitely a distraction. And, so it's kind of about all animals and creatures working together. And I mean, I know it's far-fetched that an owl would help out, but I thought it would make a cute story.
Well, it isn't far-fetched, and I always don't like to do all the talking, but I will tell you a story. But let me just tell you again, my guest is Paulee Bowen, Bowin. The name of her book is The Girl Who Sings the Alphabet Backwards, and we can talk about that a little bit in a minute. And she is calling in from Clearwater, and her book was the book of the month in our June issue of Boomer Times, so we feel very privileged to have her. But let me tell you a story. I lived in a place called Jupiter Island, and we lived in a home on the ocean, and so we got to see the ocean a lot. And what happened is we saw the turtles coming in and digging, and it was really quite a scene to see them actually with their, I guess, I don't know what you call their web feet, whatever let's see, a turtle has, well, wings, not wings, but their feet, whatever it is. And
flippers,
what?
The flippers,
Flippers, yeah, I guess the flippers. And they would take the sand and just keep working till they got a deep sand pit. And then they would sit there and lay their eggs. And the eggs were like ping pong balls, and they were very soft. And they would lay them, and then they would take the same energy and cover it up. So you didn't really know unless you were watching. Sometimes it was a mound, and so that's exactly what we were talking about. And then they would find their way to go back to the water, so that when the eggs would hatch, then the babies, of course, would come out, and they would try to head for the water if the birds or other animals wouldn't eat them. So let's say there were like 50 eggs, hopefully 10 would make it back to the water. But I have a different story about that. So anyway, I was a part to it, and I did know about turtles, and where we lived, on the beach, there were very big rocks. So they had to really come there and go over rocks to come in. Well, I had a guest staying at the house, and there was usually you could see dolphins, but rarely did you really notice them. They were maybe once in a while you'd see them coming in with going back and forth or something. But one morning, my guest said, look, there's a dolphin out there, one dolphin, and it's coming back and forth and back and forth. And I said, gee, that's unusual. So we kept watching. Then we went out to the beach, and we saw something. We saw one of the turtles, and these are big turtles, got caught in the rocks and was bleeding. And so it couldn't, I guess when the tide comes in, when it goes out, it got caught. It didn't get to go flow with the tide. So this dolphin was trying to call attention to what happened. So we went and we got some big boards and went to where the rocks and picked up with the boards the turtle. So when the water came in, it got to flow back out. And we saved the turtle, but it was the dolphin that really saved the turtle by calling our attention. Now, isn't that an interesting story?
That's amazing.
It is. I thought you'd love this. I saved the story for you.
I do love it. I love it so much, and I've done a lot of studying about dolphins because in my next book there's a little bit more detail, and they do amazing things. They name themselves. They know their reflection in the mirror. They are so just incredible. There's so many things about them, and I'm so glad you got to do that or got to experience that.
Right.
It's like dolphins at their best.
Yes. And people who are on their way down to the Keys, there are places that you can swim with the dolphins. Are you ever done that?
Not in the Keys. I did it in a SeaWorld, where was it? Orlando. And that was a lot of fun, but that's not the same as in their own habitat.
No, that's right. So that's really very true that there are places that let you do that. Now, I think I did that with my children years ago when they first did it because they're very special animals. You're right. But let's get back to the turtles because now, and you brought up something very important. I'm so glad that the beach communities now, they monitor their lighting. It's different. It used to be regular lights. Now they have lighting that it has certain things on the lights so that it dims it and it's only done during the turtle season. So they're very, very aware of this natural phenomena. So it's really important that people do that. But the big turtles do what you said. They do come back every year where they were. Of course, their babies have already come and gone, but something makes them know to come back to a particular place.
It's fascinating.
It is.
They're amazing creatures. And I learned a lot just by writing the book. I looked into a few turtle facts and when I was creating the story. And, of course, I tried to work with a group that rescues turtles over on this side. And the fact that I had a cell phone in the story, they couldn't or wouldn't let me work with them. I wanted to donate some proceeds of the book towards their cause if they wanted to, sell my book to raise funds for the turtles. And the fact that the little girl Paisley has a cell phone on the beach made it to where they couldn't advocate the book for that, and I was kind of disappointed because,
right.
It's fiction.
Sure.
I wasn't trying to create a nonfiction kind of educational thing. I was just trying to make a story with a happy ending and a little truth to it.
Yep. No, you did. Let's take a little time now to talk about your next book. What are you doing?
It's called A What If Story, and it's a sequel to that one, to The Girl Who Sings the Alphabet Backwards. And Paisley's little friend from Colorado comes to visit, and they experience a lot of different animals and some fun adventures at a jungle gardens place as well as on the beach.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're into, I know people are saying, why did she name this book The Girl Who Sings the Alphabet Backwards? Why don't you explain that?
Well, I can say the alphabet backwards. You wouldn't want to hear me sing it, but I can definitely say it. And I was thinking different things regarding that. Certain things like dyslexia are important to be aware of. Not that I'm dyslexic because I can say it backward, but there's a lot of other things that are involved with learning and seeing things differently or backward. And I wanted to help people and inspire them to think differently and think outside the box. That's really where I'm coming from. I want people to think for themselves and keep learning and overcoming obstacles, because all of us have had obstacles and many challenges, and it doesn't have to stop you. And it doesn't matter if you're small, big, little girl, little boy, whatever. You need to keep trying.
Good advice. It really is good advice. I think that there are a lot of people who, and I know of a doctor who calls on our radio show, and he's written a fabulous book. He was born with Tourette's disease, and he still has it, but and more things. People, they had him in a psychiatrist, they had him on medication, but his family finally said, that's enough. Just go and be yourself and run and play and do everything. And he did, and he's very successful. He still has moments where he yells out something because of the Tourette's disease, but it's what you said. He's taken a disability, and he's almost ignored it, and he's done very well, because a lot of people with these disabilities are extremely intelligent.
Yeah, they definitely are, and they're often misunderstood, and it's really, really sad. And, reading up about dyslexia also, there's so many other little things, and I could see how it goes misdiagnosed and how it's so frustrating for those that have it. And, again, awareness is key on any of these things. Awareness about that, awareness about sea turtles. All of these things are important. And like I said, if we can work together on things and not be so hard on each other, that makes a big difference. We all have a purpose, I think. And I don't always think that. I get down and I think that, what am I doing? It doesn't matter, But, yeah, I guess you have to keep going.
Yeah, that's true, and that's good. Well, I think the name of your book will certainly make people remember it. It's very unusual. That's what happened when you sent it to me. I thought, the girl who sings the alphabet backwards, why is that? And after I got into this, it was just so beautiful. And here I'm an older person, but I just found a lot of sweetness and sensitivity into this book, and of course with the dolphins and the owl and it's a perfect book for children. So what I want to do is, how can people buy your book? Where should they go to do that?
They can go to Amazon.com and purchase it.
Good. That's enough. That's perfect. That's easy to remember. Amazon.com. Purchase the book. You can buy a few of them. If you have grandchildren, they'll love it. It's easy to read. If the children are just learning to read, the letters, the letters are large. There's a lot of white space. And if not, you as a parent or grandparent or great-grandparent could read it to them. And it's a nice little book. 'Cause see, it's small, and that's what's nice. But yet every page has some pretty pictures on it, and that's what kids like. They want to look at the pictures while you read. I love the picture with all the little turtles running down towards the water. Cute. And that's just what it looks like. They do attract the water. The sound of the water attracts them, and I guess it's whatever it is. It's really cute. Well, you're very special that you do this, and I'm certainly glad that you were on to do this for us this morning, and we'll be looking forward to your next book.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I'm really happy that you were able to call us today, Paulie, and thanks a lot, really.
And by the way, the next book is on Amazon also. So when you search for The Girl Who Sings the Alphabet Backwards, you'll also find A What If Story.
Oh, it's called What If? That is the name?
A What If Story. Mm-hmm.
A What If Story. Okay, good. I'm glad you told us that. All right. Well, people can look at that. And is this the same? Have all the same pretty pictures?
Yes, it has more. And I did a bonus section of illustrations that didn't make the book. Like, I was going to call them second chance illustrations. Sometimes you don't get it right the first time, so I figured they still deserve to be in the book. Somebody will appreciate them. So.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate your calling us, and good luck with your stuff, and stay in touch, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot, and have a great day.
Okay, thank you. Bye.